Are you longing for the good old days of, I don't know, 2019? Yeah, me too. Even back in spring of 2020, at the start of the reign of our overlord and grand poobah, price-wise, things were way better. Hi everybody, this is Tracy Bookman, owner of Homestead Roofing. Welcome to another one of our walk in the park videos, and we did a video back in 2020 about what it would cost to replace your roof. Well, we live in a completely different world right now, kind of a crazy world right now. So, with inflation attacking absolutely everything, supply chain issues attacking absolutely everything, we thought it would be good to revisit that topic and talk about what is it going to cost to replace your roof in 2022. So first off, like I say in almost every video, answering questions like this, it depends. All roofs are not equal. Some roofs are bigger, some roofs are smaller. Some roofs are more complex, some roofs are really simple. Some roofs have luxury roofing materials on them. Some roofs just have standard asphalt shingles. Well, I can't talk about all those different kind of situations, so we're going to limit this to talking about just a standard sized one-story roof of between 2,200 and 2,400 square feet, like this one. Also, I'm in the Colorado Springs market, and so we're going to be talking about houses here. If you live in a different market, bigger city, smaller town, rural, very urban, your prices are going to depend on those locations as well. Availability of materials is another big one. But we're going to be talking about the Colorado Springs market. And so if you live in a different market, you can kind of use this as a jumping off point. But remember, your costs are probably going to be different. Also, if you live in the Colorado Springs market or another market that gets a lot of hail, well, that's another factor to consider too, because most likely, if you're going to be replacing your roof and you live in a market that gets a lot of hail, your insurance company is going to be the one paying for it, probably not you. And if that's the case, then your only expense is just going to be your deductible, plus any upgrades that you may want to do to the roof or any maintenance issues that pop up during the re-roof. Like, you know, if they get the roof torn off and they realize that you need new decking underneath the shingles, that's sometimes going to be a cost that you have to bear. But if your insurance company is paying for the re-roof, then as long as you have replacement cost value coverage on your policy, then your insurance company takes care of all of the rest of the costs. But if you're paying for your roof entirely on your own, then let's talk about what that standard base cost is. Remember, just of our one-story simple roof that's about 2,200 to 2,400 square feet. Before we jump into what the standard base price of a re-roof is going to be, let's talk about 5 things that will affect the price of your re-roof from that standard base price. These are things that are going to cause the price most likely to increase, sometimes a little bit, sometimes a really big amount. Now, the first thing that could affect the total cost of the re-roof is whether or not ice and water shield is required on the house. Again, we're talking about Colorado Springs here. In Colorado Springs, that's dictated by the elevation of the house. If the house is more than 7,000 feet, well, 7,000 feet or above, ice and water shield is required at all the eaves. Other jurisdictions may not require ice and water shield at all, no matter what. Other jurisdictions may require ice and water shield all the time. I'm not going to go into explaining what ice and water shield is here. We've got a video right up here that will explain all of it. Just click on that, watch that video. So what will it cost to put ice and water shield on your house? Again, that depends. It depends on how much is needed. Remember, here it's required at all the eaves, and it has to go a certain distance past the interior wall line. So it kind of depends on how many eaves do you have and how deep your soffit is. But you can kind of expect that if you have to add ice and water shield to your house, it could increase the cost of the project by anywhere between $750 to $2,500. That's a base range. Yours could be lower, yours could be higher. Okay, the second thing that could affect the total cost of your project is how complex is the roof? Meaning, is it high? Is it steep? And is it really cut up? Meaning, you know, are there a lot of different facets? Is it, because a simple roof is just going to have, you know, 2 rectangles, 4 rectangles, a couple valleys, something like that, where you can run into a house kind of like this one, very complex roof, and it's high and it's steep, and so all of those things add to the cost of the labor, well, and to the cost of the materials, because if it's cut up, if there are a lot of facets, then that increases the amount of your waste factor, because as they're, you know, cutting shingles diagonally and things like that, some of those shingles can't be used in other places, so they're just thrown away. So that's a cut and waste factor. Then if it's high and steep, that increases the labor cost because it's more difficult for the roofers to work on and more dangerous. All right, so how much will it add to the cost of your project if your roof is complex? It depends. Is it high but not steep? Is it steep and not high? Is it high and steep and cut up? It all kind of depends. So you could expect that a complex roof could add costs to the project, maybe starting at around $200, $250, but it could go all the way up to a couple $1,000s. All depends on what your roof looks like. The third thing that's going to affect the total cost of your re-roof project is whether or not you need new decking. Now that's a huge one. Typically what's used for decking is OSB. Well, back in the good old days, a sheet of OSB cost $9, $10. We were shocked when we had to pay $15 for OSB at one time. Well, back in the height of the rule of our overlord and grand poobah, OSB got up to $65 a sheet. Well, thankfully, for whatever reason, it came back down. It got all the way back down to $15 here. So we were doing the dance of joy. But now, a sheet of OSB is $69. That's today. I'm going to have to check it tomorrow and see what it's doing. So how much can you expect that it's going to add to the cost of your re-roof project if you have to redeck the house? Again, there's a lot of things that play into that. Is your house high? Is it steep? Is it complex? But to redeck just a standard house, you're probably going to be looking at between $5,000 and $8,000. Again, by the time I get this video out, it might even be more than that. Okay, now we're to the fourth thing that's going to affect the total cost of your re-roof project, and that is whether or not there are multiple layers of roofing material already on the roof. Those have to be torn off. Those have to be thrown into a dumpster or a dump trailer and taken to the landfill. All the extra weight of extra materials adds to the cost of the dump fee. It also kind of depends on what the materials are. Here we run into sometimes multiple layers of asphalt shingles on top of wood shake. Sometimes we'll have metal on top of asphalt shingles. So if all that other stuff has to be torn off, that adds to the labor costs and it adds to the dump fees. So depending on what the material is and depending on how much there is of it, you can expect it's going to add to the cost of the project probably between $500, maybe all the way up to $3,000, $3,500, something like that. So again, it all depends, but that has to be factored into the total cost of the re-roof project. Okay, so the fifth and last thing that's going to affect the total cost of your re-roof project is whether or not the materials going on the roof have to be hand loaded, and whether or not the waste, the debris that comes off the roof, has to go onto the ground and then be hand loaded into the dumpster. So if there's no access for the delivery truck to get close enough to the house to load the materials up on the roof, then they have to put them on the ground, and then the crew has to hand carry each bundle up to the top of the roof. That adds labor cost. And then if the crew doesn't have access to put their dump trailer or a roll-off dumpster close enough to the house to be able to throw the trash from the rooftop down into the dumpster, then they have to toss everything onto the ground and then hand carry it over to the dumpster. That again adds labor cost. So what does that add to the total cost of the project? Again, it depends. Depends how many layers there are, it depends what type of material it is, but it could add anywhere from between, say, $100 up to $1,000. All right, now that we got all that out of the way, let's get right down to the bottom line. What is it going to cost to replace your roof in 2022? But, sorry, before we get to that, I do have to talk about what's going on in the world right now, because inflation is going absolutely bonkers and there are supply chain issues. So we had a material price increase back in February of 5 to 6%. That was across the board, all the shingle manufacturers. Well, we just got notification from our supplier that April 11th there's going to be another price increase, this time 10 to 15%. That doesn't even count the increase of the delivery charge, because gas has gone up 250% in the last 2 years. So just remember that the price that I reveal to you today is probably not going to be the price that you can expect in May or June or July, because more than likely the labor price is going to have to increase too, because the crew, they all have to buy gas to get to the job sites and everything. All right, so with all that out of the way, now let's get to the bottom line. So to re-roof our standard one-story simple roof in Colorado Springs is probably going to cost between about $12,000 and $14,000. But remember, all those other factors, plus including where you live, is going to dictate what your roof is going to cost. So I hope this information has been helpful for you. If you want to know what it's going to cost to re-roof your house, if you live in the Colorado Springs market, give us a call. We'd be happy to provide you an estimate for that. Even if you don't live in the Colorado Springs market, give us a call. We can remotely provide you an estimate for what you could expect it to cost to re-roof your house. If you've got any questions, you can give us a call at our office phone number right up here, 719-433-6991. You can also visit our website. That's right down here, homesteadroofingcolorado.com. So if you like this video, please be sure to give us a big thumbs up. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let us know. Do you have any questions? We'll answer those. We read and respond to all questions that we get on our YouTube channel. Plus, we'd love it if you'd subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon up there so that way you get notified when we've got new videos. And until our next Walk in the Park, I'm Tracy Bookman, owner of Homestead Roofing.